The thick green smoothie sat between us on my kitchen counter, heavy in the glass and streaked with tiny black specks drifting near the bottom. The air smelled like avocado and almond milk. But something in that smell felt wrong the moment she pushed it toward me. Aaliyah Cross. My daughter-in-law stood across from me with a smile just a little too bright. Too stretched, too practiced. "Is it good?" she asked, leaning forward like she already knew the answer but needed to hear it from my mouth. I set the glass down gently, wiped my mouth with the back of my hand, and met her gaze. "I'm not sure," I said quietly. "Your mama drank it." The words hit her like a lightning bolt. Whatever color she had in her skin vanished. Her face went pale gray, her mouth opened like she forgot how to breathe. "What? You made a lot," I continued, keeping my voice calm and steady. I couldn't finish it, so I walked it over to Miss Yvonne's house. She drank all of it. Aaliyah's whole body stiffened. Her hand flew to her mouth. "No. No, no!" She stumbled backward, knocking her chair over with a loud crash. My son Darius looked up from his phone, startled. "Leah, what's wrong?" But she wasn't listening. Her hands shook wildly as she grabbed her purse, dropped her keys, picked them up, dropped them again. She was trembling so bad she could barely hold anything. "Oh my God. Oh my..." I stood up slowly. "You don't want to stay for dinner?" "I'm making pot roast." "I have to go right now," she choked out, her voice a broken whisper turning into a panic. She bolted toward the door. "Aaliyah," I said, still calm. "What was in the juice?" She froze at the door. Her back stiffened. Her hand tightened on the knob. She didn't turn around. "Your mama really liked it," I said softly. "Said it was the sweetest thing you'd done for her in years." A broken, animal-like sound escaped her. She yanked the door open, sprinted out, jumped in her car, and sped away so fast she clipped my mailbox and never stopped. The house went silent. Again, naturally silent. Darius stared at me like he couldn't process what happened. "Ma, what the hell was that?" I looked at my grown son, the same child I raised alone after his father died. The boy who promised he'd protect me. The man who somehow couldn't see what was right in front of him. "Sit down," I said quietly. I picked up the fallen chair and placed it upright. Darius sank into it, confusion written all over his face. I sat across from him, folded my hands on the table, and took a slow breath. The air in the kitchen felt heavy. Not because of the smoothie's smell, but because of everything he didn't know yet. "We need to talk," I said. His eyebrows pulled tight, bracing for something he didn't want to hear. "About what?" he asked. I held his gaze without flinching. "First," I said, "I need to tell you how we got here. My name is Loretta Gaines. I'm 72 years old. And 3 weeks ago, your wife tried to kill me. 3 weeks before Mother's Day, I was standing in the hallway of my home in South Atlanta, holding a warm basket full of clean towels fresh from the dryer. The sunlight from the window at the end of the hall poured in, catching the floating dust in a golden haze. Everything smelled like detergent and lavender, clean, quiet, peaceful. The kind of afternoon where nothing feels wrong. But peace doesn't last when evil is. In your house pretending to be family. As I walked past Darius's old bedroom, I heard voices muffled at first, then clearer when I stepped closer without meaning to. "She's not gonna last much longer anyway," Aaliyah's voice said, soft but sharp. Like she wasn't sad about it at all. I stopped mid-step. My heart thudded once, hard. "Don't talk like that," Darius said. But his voice didn't sound firm or angry. It sounded tired, beaten down. Like he was trying to convince himself he disagreed. "I'm just being realistic." "Baby," Aaliyah murmured with that syrupy tone she used whenever she wanted something. "Your mama is 72. She's had health problems. It's only a matter of time." I stood completely still. The towels suddenly felt heavier in my arms. My breath stalled in my chest. "She's healthy," Darius argued weakly. "Doctor says she could live another 20 years. 20 years? Aaliyah actually laughed, a short, cold sound that didn't belong to the same woman who pretended to call me Mama Loretta at Sunday dinners. 20 more years of living in this house. 20 more years of us being broke. 20 more years of waiting? Waiting for what? "We live here rent-free," Darius said, but I could hear the doubt, the shame. The way he was trying to defend me and couldn't find strength to stand on. "That's not nothing." He tried. It's exactly nothing, she snapped back. We're 34. We should have our own place. A beautiful home in Buckhead or Alpharetta with a pool. Not this. Not stuck playing caretaker to your mother who doesn't even need taking care of. Her words sliced through me like glass. I pressed my back against the wall, trying to breathe quietly, the towels crushing into my chest. My mama has been good to us, Darius said. She's sitting on money, Darius, Aaliyah cut him off. 2 properties, retirement savings, your daddy's life insurance. She's got close to $800,000. And we're eating ramen noodles and stretching paychecks. We're not eating ramen, he muttered. You know what I mean? Something scraped inside the room, maybe a chair, maybe the bed frame, before she continued with a low, venomous whisper. We could have everything. A house, 2 cars, travel, a real life. But no, we're waiting for nature to do us a favor. Silence settled between them. Thick and suffocating. Then Aaliyah's voice dropped even lower. Quieter. More dangerous. Unless, she said, we help nature along. My whole world tilted. The hallway spun for a moment, and I grabbed the wall just to stay standing. What are you saying? Darius whispered. I'm saying accidents happen, she said plainly. Older people fall. They take the wrong medication. They get confused. Their hearts get weak. These things happen every day. Aaliyah. And when they do, she continued, unmoved by his fear, their children inherit everything. Stop, Darius breathed, but he didn't sound angry. He sounded afraid of the truth sitting right in front of him. Just think about it, she whispered. That's all I'm asking. I backed away from their door, 1 step, then another, my hands shaking so hard, the towels almost slipped. The hallway felt longer, colder. The sun through the window didn't look warm anymore. It looked harsh, threatening. I made it to the bathroom and closed the door quietly behind me. Inside that small room, I set the towels on the counter and sat on the edge of the tub because my legs suddenly felt weak. My heartbeat thumped in my throat. My husband, Franklin Gaines, had been gone for 6 years. He was a police detective for more than 30 years, a man who'd taught me how to read people, how to hear danger in a sentence that sounded harmless, how to trust your gut when something felt wrong, even if your eyes couldn't see it yet. He used to tell me, Loretta, people show you who they are in the moments they think nobody is watching. And in that hallway, they had shown me everything. I just hadn't been paying attention before. I washed my face at the sink and stared at myself in the mirror, at my gray hair, my soft wrinkles, my tired eyes. I looked like somebody's grandmother, like somebody harmless, like someone easy to underestimate. But behind all that, I was still Franklin's wife, a woman who'd sat at the kitchen table for decades listening to a detective break down human nature, lies, motives, and the ugly truths people hide. A woman who knew how to gather evidence, stay quiet, and strike only when the time was right. I walked out of the bathroom and moved silently down the hallway, listening. Behind the bedroom door, Aaliyah and Darius were still talking, her voice soft, his voice low and unsure. I turned into my bedroom, opened my nightstand drawer, and pulled out Franklin's old leather notebook, the one he used to carry everywhere. The one with his handwriting, his notes, his reminders that truth always comes out eventually if you're patient enough. I sat on my bed, flipped to a blank page, and wrote the date, the time, the exact words I heard, every sentence, every tone, every inflection. If Aaliyah wanted to play dangerous games, she picked the wrong old woman. I wasn't going to confront her. Not yet. I wasn't going to warn Darius. Not yet. I was going to wait. And watch. And build the kind of case Franklin would have been proud of, because one thing my husband taught me above everything else was this: the best way to catch someone planning something terrible is to let them think they're getting away with it. Aaliyah had shown her hand. Now it was my turn to start playing mine. The next morning, after I overheard their conversation, Aaliyah came downstairs with a bright smile that didn't touch her eyes and the smell of fresh coffee trailing behind her. She had never, not once in 4 years of living under my roof, made coffee for anyone but herself. But that morning she held out a mug toward me like we were best friends. Good morning, Ms. Loretta, she said in this cheerful, almost chirpy tone. I made extra coffee. You want some? I glanced at the pot, then at her hands, then at her face. That's real sweet, I said evenly. But I already had my tea. Her smile flickered, only for a split second, but long enough for me to catch it. Oh, well. Maybe tomorrow. She set the cup down and slid into a seat at the kitchen table, crossing her legs like she planned to stay a while. You know, she began, twirling a strand of her hair casually. I've been thinking. About what? I asked. You do so much around here. Cooking, cleaning, laundry. I feel bad you handle everything. You should let me help more. I'm fine, I replied. But she leaned forward, pressing her cold hand over mine. I insist. Starting today, I'll make dinner. Give you a break. My stomach tightened. I appreciate the thought, I said gently, pulling my hand back without making a scene. But I like cooking. Keeps me busy. Something slipped in her eyes again, not sadness, not kindness. Something sharper. Something calculating. But she recovered quickly. Well, she said lightly, at least let me make you tea sometimes. Or juice. I've been reading about these amazing smoothies great for people our age. She paused, her smile widening just a bit too much. I mean, great for your age. I'll think about it, I said. She didn't like that answer. But she forced another smile and sipped her coffee. That was the start of it. The false sweetness. The hovering, the sudden interest in my health and habits. I watched every move she made. Every offer. Every too bright smile. And every time I wrote it down in Franklin's old notebook, the date, the time, the exact words. Aaliyah offered to make me tea 7 times over the next 3 weeks. I said no every single time. She volunteered to grab my prescriptions. I told her I'd get them myself. She asked about my doctor appointments, what they were for, whether I needed a ride. I politely declined. She kept trying, kept smiling, that stiff, stretched smile. But there was tension behind it now, little cracks forming each time. I blocked her attempts. At first, she tried to hide her frustration, biting her lip or twisting her fingers when she thought I wasn't looking. But as the days passed and every opportunity slipped through her fingers, it showed more and more. The way her jaw set tight whenever I cooked my own meals, the way her eyes narrowed when I washed my own dishes, the way she stared at me too long, as though trying to calculate my next move. She thought I didn't notice. I noticed everything. She and Darius started arguing more often. Their voices leaked through the walls late at night. Almost always the same fight, money, the future, and how long they'd have to wait. She won't let me do anything for her. I heard Aaliyah hiss one night. It's like she knows. She just likes her independence, Darius tried to reason. Or maybe she's selfish, Aaliyah snapped. She's got everything while we have nothing. And she is perfectly happy keeping it that way. That's not fair, Darius said, but the conviction wasn't there. Life isn't fair, she shot back. But we could make it fair if you would stop being scared and grow a spine. I lay in my bed listening to every word, staring at the ceiling, feeling the slow burn of heartbreak mix with anger. My son, my sweet, hard-working Darius had been molded into someone I barely recognized. Not by force, not overnight, but slowly, drip by drip. The way poison seeps into water until the whole thing becomes toxic. But I still loved him, and I still planned to save him from the woman turning his heart black. I kept quiet. I smiled where I needed to. I went about my days, cooking dinner, watching the news, watering my plants, and every time she offered a drink or food or medicine, I declined. Aaliyah grew more irritated by the day. Her kindness turned sharp on the edges. She snapped at Darius over the smallest things. She slammed cabinets when she thought I wasn't listening. She tapped her foot hard when I sat down at the table instead of taking the glass she offered. My notebook filled quickly, line by line, everything she said, everything she did, every little shift in her tone. 3 weeks passed like this, a quiet war under one roof. Aaliyah kept trying. I kept denying her chances. And all the while, she grew desperate. Mother's Day was coming. She needed a moment where she could give me something I wouldn't refuse, and she finally found one. Or rather, she thought she did. The days leading up to Mother's Day felt heavier than usual, like the air inside my home carried a quiet warning I couldn't ignore. Aaliyah's frustration grew sharper by the hour, settling on her shoulders like a shadow she couldn't shake off. She tried to keep up the act, the bright smiles, the polite questions about my health, the sudden interest in my errands, but the sweetness she was forcing had started to curdle. She would stand beside me in the kitchen some mornings, pretending to look for something in the drawers, stealing glances at me like she was calculating what else she could try. She watched every move I made, every time I touched a cup or plate, every time I declined another one of her offers. "Need help with anything, Miss Loretta?" She would ask with a smile too stiff to pass as real. "No, thank you." I'd reply, my tone polite but firm. Her jaw would tighten just slightly, a twitch she couldn't hide. She never thought I noticed, but of course I did. Her patience thinned fast. The way she opened cabinets became more aggressive. The way she closed them became louder. The way she spoke to Darius grew sharper, colder. Night after night, the arguments between them grew worse. Their voices filtered through the walls, mixing with the hum of my ceiling fan while I sat in bed with Franklin's notebook resting on my lap. "You're not trying hard enough," Aaliyah hissed one night. "She just doesn't trust me." Darius muttered weakly, "Because she knows. She knows I'm trying and she's blocking me on purpose." "She just likes her independence," he said, sounding tired. She just likes her independence, sounding defeated. "She's selfish." Aaliyah snapped, pacing so hard I heard the floor creak beneath her feet. "She has money, she has assets, she has everything, and she never let us have a real chance at a better life. She's going to live forever just to spite us." "That's my mama," Darius said, but there was no strength behind the words. "And what am I?" She demanded. "What am I supposed to do? Just wait until we're 50? 60? Until we're too old to build anything? We need that house, Darius. We need that money. Aaliyah, you heard what the doctor said about her health. She could be here another 20 years. And we're just stuck." Silence soaked the air after that, broken only by Aaliyah's angry breathing. I sat up straighter in bed. My pen hovered over the page of my notebook. These weren't rumors anymore. These weren't misunderstandings. This was intent. And intent had weight. She was desperate now. And desperation is when people do the worst things. I kept writing. Date, time, every word I could remember. The more she talked, the deeper the truth buried itself. She wanted me gone. She wanted everything I had. And she wasn't going to wait much longer. During the day, Aaliyah's frustration started bleeding into everything she did. She snapped at Darius for leaving dishes in the sink, for forgetting to take out the trash, for spending too long in the shower. She slammed drawers when she cooked. She glared at the cabinets whenever I reached for something, without her offering it first. She walked through the house like someone ready to explode. Her fingers drummed on surfaces. Her foot tapped constantly. Her breathing grew short when I declined her help again and again and again. It didn't matter how sweetly she smiled. Her eyes told the truth. Behind the fake warmth, her mind was racing, searching for an opening, a moment where she could strike without suspicion. And then Mother's Day arrived. I woke up that morning to sunlight spilling across my bedroom floor in long, warm streaks. Birds chirped softly outside my window. From downstairs, I heard movement, quiet shuffling, cabinets opening, something dropping, the faint whir of something electric. Aaliyah was already in the kitchen, earlier than usual, earlier than necessary. Darius knocked on my door a few minutes later. He stepped inside with a card in his hand. "The kind you buy last minute from the grocery store." "Happy Mother's Day, May," he said. I hugged him. He smelled the same as he always had since high school. That same bar soap, that same faint cologne he overused as a teenager. For a moment, I felt my heart ache with the memory of the boy he used to be. "She's making you something special for breakfast," he said. "She's been planning it all week." My stomach tightened at his words. Of course she had. She'd been waiting for this exact opportunity. "That's sweet," I said, very thoughtful of her. But inside, I felt the cold shift in the air, the unmistakable feeling of danger approaching. I changed clothes, smoothed my hair, and walked toward the kitchen. As soon as I stepped into the doorway, I saw her. Aaliyah stood at the counter in her pastel robe, shoulders tense, hair pulled back, her hands steady as she held down the lid of the blender. The smell hit me immediately. Avocado, almond milk, something fresh, something bitter beneath it. She was humming. Fake humming, forced, too cheerful. She turned the blender off and poured the thick green liquid into a tall glass, watching it swirl with the little black flecks suspended throughout. She held the glass with both hands when she turned toward me, her smile locked in place. "For you," she said softly. "Happy Mother's Day." And just like that, everything I'd been waiting for had finally arrived. Alia held the tall glass out toward me with both hands. Her face stretched into a smile so bright it almost looked strained. The thick green smoothie gleamed under the kitchen lights, tiny black flecks floating in it like grains of dirt or chia seeds or something else entirely. "For you," she said softly. "Happy Mother's Day, Miss Loretta." Her voice was sweet, but her eyes told a different story. They were too focused on me, too locked in, waiting, measuring, hoping I would pick up that glass and swallow death without realizing it. I stepped closer and took the glass from her, feeling the cold condensation slide down my fingers. I tilted it slightly to let the black flecks float. They drifted slowly, too thick and too dark to be just chia seeds. Something bitter bumped against the edge of my instincts. "That's real thoughtful of you," I said calmly. Alia's shoulders relaxed just a tiny bit, like she believed the moment she'd been chasing for weeks had finally arrived. "It's avocado. Spinach, almond milk, and chia seeds," she said. "Super healthy. Great for your heart, great for your heart." The irony almost made me laugh, but I held the emotion still on my face. "You want me to drink this?" I asked. "Of course," she replied quickly, too quickly. "Why wouldn't you?" Her voice was high-pitched and tight, the nerves hiding underneath the kindness beginning to show. I lifted the glass slightly, pretending to inspect it. "You know," I said casually, "I just remembered your mama called early this morning. Said she was going to stop by. Bring me some flowers for Mother's Day." Alia's entire body went rigid. "My mama?" "Yes," I said, nodding. "Ms. Yvonne. She said she'd be here around noon." Alia blinked hard, her smile dropping an inch. She didn't mention that to me." "Well, you know how mamas are," I said lightly. "They forget things." Alia forced a tiny laugh that didn't fit her face at all. "I bet she'd love some of this juice," I added. "She's always talking about her cholesterol." "No!" The word shot out of her mouth too fast to be controlled. I raised an eyebrow. She corrected quickly, smoothing her robe. "I only made enough for you. For your special breakfast. It won't be as fresh later." "That's okay," I said calmly. "I can share." Her eyes widened. I turned toward the refrigerator and opened it. "I'll just save half for her when she arrives." I placed the glass right in the center, shelf between the milk and the orange juice. "We can drink it together." Alia appeared behind me so fast I heard her slippers skid. "Miss Loretta, really, you should drink it now," she insisted, her voice shaking. "The nutrients break down quickly. Oxidation. It'll be fine," I said, closing the fridge door. 20 minutes won't kill it." Her hands trembled. She tried to laugh, but the sound broke apart in her throat. "I should go," she blurted out suddenly. "Go?" I asked. "It's Mother's Day. Don't you want to stay?" She took a small step backward. We have plans. Plans without me?" I placed my hand on my chest as if offended. "I thought we'd spend the day together. We'll be back later," she stuttered. "Oh, good," I said. "Then your mother can join us for dinner. I'll make pot roast. The one you say is too heavy but she loves." Alia grabbed her purse like it was the only thing keeping her alive. "I really need to go. You sure you don't want to see her when she gets here?" I asked innocently. She sounded real excited. She nearly choked on air. "I have to go right now." She moved so quickly toward the door that she almost tripped over the rug. She jerked the door open. And at that moment, everything became crystal clear. Her panic was no longer a mask she could control. It was pure fear that her mother might unknowingly drink the poison she had meant for me. As soon as her car peeled out of the driveway, I closed the front door gently, locked it, then reached for my phone. I dialed the one person who needed to be part of this next step. On the third ring, Ms. Yvonne answered. Hello? Good morning, Yvonne, I said. I need you to come over right now. There was a short silence on the other end. Is everything okay? She asked. No, I said. But I'll explain when you get here. How fast can you come? About 20 minutes. Good, I said. And Yvonne, don't tell Alia I called. Another pause, heavier this time. Okay. I hung up the phone. The house felt still. Quiet. Waiting. I walked back to the refrigerator, opened it, and stared at the glass sitting there, full of the green mixture she had so carefully prepared. The black flecks drifted like tiny warnings. This wasn't over. It was only beginning. When Yvonne arrived, she pulled up in her old silver Honda Civic, the one with the dented passenger door and the faded paint she never had the money to fix. She stepped out slowly, looking small and worried, clutching her purse like it held her entire life inside. Her eyes darted around nervously. Loretta, what's going on? Come inside, I said gently, taking her arm. I led her into the kitchen and stopped in front of the refrigerator. I opened the door and took out the tall glass with the thick green smoothie still sitting on the middle shelf. I set it on the counter between us. This is what Alia made for me this morning, I said. For Mother's Day. Yvonne stared at the glass, blinking in confusion. That's nice of her. She insisted I drink it. Right away. She was watching me the whole time. Yvonne's expression shifted. Her fingers twitched at the strap of her purse. Why didn't you? Because I know what I heard 3 weeks ago, I said. And because when I told her you might stop by today, she panicked. She didn't want you to have any of it. The color drained from Yvonne's face. You think there's something in it? She whispered. I think we need to find out. I answered. I already had my keys in my hand. She nodded slowly, like her body moved before her mind could catch up. 10 minutes later, we were on the road, driving through South Atlanta toward a private testing lab I knew from my husband's old connections. The city streets were full of families dressed up for brunch, kids holding balloons, church hats, gift bags, and flowers everywhere. Mother's Day in full swing. Yvonne and I drove silently, both of us gripping ourselves tightly, the weight of what we were doing pressing down on our chests. At the lab parking lot, a young man wearing a navy polo shirt stepped outside just as we pulled in. He was tall, maybe 25, with kind eyes that reminded me of someone. Mrs. Gaines? I'm Jordan Carter, he said. My granddad told me you'd be coming. Franklin had worked with Jordan's grandfather, Leon, for almost 20 years. If there was anyone I trusted with this, it was someone from that family. Jordan looked at the glass in my hand, then held it up toward the sunlight. The black flecks drifted slowly in the green liquid. His face tightened just a little. All right, he said. I'll test everything in this. It may take a few hours, depending on what shows up. Whatever it costs, I said. Just tell me the truth. He nodded. I will. He disappeared inside the building with the glass, leaving Yvonne and me standing in the heat. We went back to sit in my car with the air conditioner, struggling against the 95-degree May sun. The inside of the car felt like an oven even with cold air blowing. Sweat gathered at my temples. Yvonne twisted her fingers repeatedly in her lap. Her knuckles had turned red from the pressure. She's not a bad person, Yvonne said quietly, staring at her trembling hands. Alia, she wants things. I know, I said gently. She grew up with nothing, Yvonne whispered. Her daddy left when she was 3. I worked double shifts, sometimes triple. Some nights the lights went out because I couldn't pay the bill on time. Some nights we ate peanut butter sandwiches for dinner. I did everything I could. None of that is your fault, I said. But she wanted more, Yvonne murmured. More than I could give her. And she blames me for that. I looked out the windshield at the families walking into the medical building next door. A woman holding a baby. An older man with a cane. Life going on like it always did, while Yvonne and I sat waiting to find out if her daughter had just tried to kill me. What if the juice is fine? She whispered. What if this is all a misunderstanding? If it's fine, I said, I'll apologize for the trouble. But I don't believe it is. Because deep down, where the truth always lies, I already knew. You don't run from an avocado smoothie unless there's something inside it worth running from. Hours passed. The sun sank lower in the Sky. My air conditioner made a soft rattling sound from working too hard. At 6:30. My phone rang. Jordan's number. You need to come back inside, he said. His voice had changed. It was tight, serious. Yvonne and I rushed inside. Jordan met us in the hallway holding a sheet of paper. His hand was shaking. There's oleander in it, he said immediately. A lot of it. Ground up and mixed in with the chia seeds. My stomach dropped and the room tilted for a second. I gripped the counter beside me to steady myself. Every part of an oleander plant is poisonous: leaves, flowers, stems, roots. Even touching the sap can make your skin burn. Drinking it? It shuts down your heart. Yvonne gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Oh dear God. My daughter. Jordan pointed to a number on the page. This amount would have caused heart failure. Within hours. Maybe even faster. It wasn't an accident. I felt the sting behind my eyes, but I didn't cry. I couldn't. Not when the truth I already knew was finally standing in front of me in black and white. She hadn't just thought about harming me. She had acted on it. She had ground up a deadly plant, one of the most toxic plants in the South, and hidden it inside a thick smoothie she handed to me with a smile. On Mother's Day, while wishing me well. You need to call the police, Jordan said firmly. This is attempted murder. Not yet, I said quietly. Jordan blinked. Mrs. Gaines, I need to do something first. I folded the report carefully, slid it inside my purse next to Franklin's old notebook, and held the bag close to my chest. I had everything I needed now. Proof, evidence, truth. But before I took this to the police, before I let Alia face what she had done in a courtroom, before her life came crashing down, she needed to understand what she had tried to do. She needed to feel fear. She needed to know I wasn't the old woman she thought she could quietly erase, and I intended to show her exactly that. By the time Yvonne and I pulled back into my driveway, the sun had slipped low behind the trees, painting the sky a deep orange. I could see Darius's car parked out front. Through the kitchen window, two silhouettes sat at my table, Darius and Alia. Alia had her head in her hands. Darius looked like he was trying to calm her down, his hands gesturing, his face tense. Good. Let her feel fear. Let her wonder. Let the panic settle in her bones. I stepped out of my car, smoothed my blouse, and walked to the front door with my purse resting heavy on my arm, the purse that now held proof of attempted murder. My key slid into the lock with a soft click. The sound echoed through the quiet house like the beginning of a final act. They both looked up as I entered. Alia's face went from pale to gray, her eyes huge and frantic. Darius stood up so fast his chair screeched across the tile. Ma, where have you been? He asked. We were worried. I was out, I said calmly, setting my purse on the counter right beside the blender Alia had used that morning. The sides still had tiny streaks of green stuck in them. Alia swallowed hard. Out? Where? Having juice, I replied lightly. With your mother. Alia's whole body jerked like she'd been electrocuted. With my mama? Yes, I said, moving toward the refrigerator. I told you earlier I was going to share the smoothie with her. Her eyes went wild. I opened the fridge. The glass was gone. I looked at the sink. There it sat. Rinsed. Clean, still wet. Alia's voice trembled. You looking for something? No, I said, closing the fridge door. You didn't need to worry. I didn't let it go to waste. Her breath hitched. What do you mean? I took the juice to Yvonne, I said casually. Like I said I would. Her chair scraped the floor as she shot up. You what? Why not? I shrugged. You said it was healthy. Good for the heart. Said it was the nicest thing you'd ever done for her. No. No! She clutched her chest, stumbling backward. When? She demanded. When did she drink it? I don't know, I said slowly. An hour ago, too. We were talking, lost track of time. Alia's knees almost gave out. I stepped closer. She said to tell you thank you. She thought it was real sweet that you made something just for me, and that I shared it with her. Oh God! Alia whispered. Oh God, oh God! Darius looked between us, confused and alarmed. Will somebody tell me what the hell is going on? It's just a smoothie, right? But Alia wasn't listening. She was spiraling. Her breath came, broken and fast. Her face had lost every hint of color. I have to go, she said, grabbing her purse with shaking hands. Right now. Wait, I said softly. Don't you want to know if she's okay? She froze at the door. The smoothie, I continued in a gentle, almost motherly tone. Don't you want to know if your mama liked it? Alia turned around slowly, her eyes full of terror. How much did she drink? All of it. She staggered backward like I had physically hit her. She did say her heart felt funny, I added calmly. Started beating fast then slow. Made her dizzy. Alia grabbed the doorknob with both hands, her fingers trembling. I have to go. Alia, I called. Voice smooth. She looked at me as though the world had ended. What was in the juice? She didn't answer. She turned the knob, stumbled outside, and ran. She dropped her keys twice before managing to unlock her car. Once inside, she sped off, tires squealing, backing out so wildly she took out my mailbox. Wood cracked and metal bent. She didn't stop. Just kept driving like the devil himself was after. Her silence filled the house. Only the blender and an empty chair stood between me and my son. Darius stared at me, pale and bewildered. Ma, what just happened? I looked at him and saw the little boy he used to be hidden under the confused grown man he'd become. Sit down, I said quietly, pulling the fallen chair upright. We need to talk about your wife. He sat slowly, his hands shaking. I reached into my purse, took out the folded lab report, and laid it flat on the table. Then I told him, 3 weeks ago, I overheard you and Aaliyah talking. She said I wouldn't last much longer. She suggested you help nature along. His face turned red. Ma, you were listening at our door? I was bringing you towels, I said. And I heard everything. That doesn't mean, oh, it gets worse. I tapped the paper. This is a lab analysis of the smoothie she made me this morning. Darius picked it up. His hands shook so badly the paper rattled. His eyes skimmed the lines, then stopped on one word. Oleander? He whispered. Ma, this is poison. Yes, I said. Enough to kill me in a few hours. Darius covered his face with both hands. Oh my God. The question is, I continued quietly. Did you know? His head jerked up. What? No. No. I swear I didn't know. I thought she was being nice. She was being nice, I corrected him calmly. Nice enough to kill me with a smile. He stood abruptly, pacing back and forth. I didn't think you didn't want to think. He froze, staring at the floor. He looked lost. Small. Broken. Finally, he whispered, What happens now? I folded my hands on the table. Now? I said slowly. We wait. We see what she does next. Where she goes. What she says. And then? He asked, voice barely there. And then I decide whether I call the police. I paused. Or handle it another way. After Alia's car disappeared down the street, the house was so quiet that even the hum of the refrigerator sounded loud. The smoothie glass was gone. The blender sat on the counter, crusted with dried streaks of green. It was still plugged in. Still sitting there like the scene of a crime no one had reported, yet Darius stood frozen at the table, the lab report limp in his shaking hands. His face was pale, his mouth slightly open, his breath uneven. Ma, I don't understand any of this, he whispered. You will, I said. Sit with it. He lowered his head, elbows on the table, fingers tangled in his hair. I could see guilt crawling across his expression like a shadow. He didn't know how we had gotten here. But I did. And I also knew this was just the beginning. After he went to his room, I turned toward the kitchen counter and stared at the blender. Every instinct I had told me to photograph it, bag it, freeze it, everything Franklin had taught me. But something hotter than logic burned through me. Anger. The kind that had been building for 3 weeks in silence. I moved to the sink, unplugged the blender, and took it apart piece by piece. I washed the pitcher under steaming water. The green streaks melted away. I scrubbed the blades until they gleamed. I rinsed the lid. I wiped every corner clean. It felt deliberate. Final. The kind of decision you can't undo. When I put the blender back on the counter. Spotless and ordinary, the kitchen looked like any other Sunday afternoon. A normal home. A normal life. Untouched by attempted murder. But nothing was normal anymore. Later that night, my phone rang. The screen lit up with Aaliyah's name. I let it ring. 4 times. 5.6. Voicemail. Then she called again. And again. And again. 10 calls in a row. On the 11th, I finally answered. Her voice was shaking. Miss Loretta, please tell me my mom is okay. I kept my tone even. Why wouldn't she be? The juice, she said, breathless. Did she drink it? What juice? I asked calmly. Silence. Then her panicked breathing reached through the phone. The juice I made you this morning. You said she drank it. Oh, that, I said lightly. No, baby, I was just teasing. I never gave it to Yvonne. More silence, a long one. You didn't? No, I replied. Was something wrong with it? I know. Oh, I never mind. Sorry to bother you. Happy Mother's Day. She hung up so fast the line clicked sharply. I stared at my phone and smiled. Finally. Now she knew. I knew. Knew she'd failed. Knew she'd been caught. And knew I hadn't gone to the police. Yet. The rest of the night passed quietly. Too quietly. I locked my bedroom door, took Franklin's old gun from the top shelf of the closet, checked the magazine's 6 bullets. Enough, more than enough. I placed it on my nightstand. Not out of fear, but preparation. Then I went to bed. By morning, the sunlight crept across my floor. The birds sang outside. Darius's car was gone. I walked to his room. The closet was empty. The dresser drawers were open and bare. He had left in the night while I slept. To where? To whom? I already knew the answer. He had gone to his wife, the same woman who tried to poison me. Because that's who he had become now. That's who she made him into. Anger hit me hard and fast, flooding my chest. The kind that burned. The kind that didn't cool easily. I picked up my phone and dialed the police. I need to report an attempted murder. I said. 2 detectives arrived an hour later. A black woman named Detective Torres and a white man named Detective Brennan. They sat in my living room with their notebooks open while I handed them the lab report and told them every detail from 3 weeks ago to Mother's Day morning. They listened carefully, took notes, asked questions. Every answer I gave was calm and precise. Then Torres asked, "Where's the actual smoothie?" "The physical sample?" "I poured it down the drain," I said. "I washed the glass. And I washed the blender." Both detectives paused, exchanging a look that made my stomach drop. "So," Brennan said slowly, "you have no physical evidence left. Just the lab analysis." "And Yvonne's testimony," I added firmly. "She was with me when it was tested." Torres sighed, her pen tapping her notepad. "Without physical evidence, it's going to be difficult to prosecute. Defense could argue contamination, tampering, or faulty chain of custody. Custody. Franklin had warned me about. That evidence only matters if you preserve it correctly. I had destroyed mine with a sponge and hot water. The detective stood to leave. "We'll speak to Aaliyah," Brennan said. "But without the actual juice, this case is challenging." They left with the report. I stood in my living room staring at the door long after it closed. I had made a mistake, a big one. In my need to be clever to make Aaliyah feel what she'd tried to make me feel, I had washed away the proof that could have locked her up. My phone rang. Yvonne. "The police were just here," she said, voice shaking. "They asked about the smoothie." "What's going to happen now?" "I don't know," I admitted. "I destroyed the evidence." "You were scared," Yvonne said. "You weren't thinking." "I would have done the same thing." We sat in silence for a moment. She and I tied together by the daughter who had betrayed us both. "She's gone," Yvonne whispered suddenly. "Aaliyah came by this morning, packed a bag, didn't say where she was going." "And Darius?" "I don't know," she said softly. "She didn't mention him." So they had both run my son my daughter in law together or apart. I didn't know. Days passed, then weeks. The police called once to say they had interviewed Alia before she left. She denied everything. Claimed the smoothie was normal. Said I was confused, possibly showing signs of dementia, without evidence. The detective's hands were tied. Case closed. And just like that, the truth was buried beneath technicalities. Alia got away with attempted murder. My son disappeared. Without a word. The hurt that followed didn't feel like fear. It felt like betrayal slicing through my bones. He wasn't just gone. He had chosen her over me. And that was the kind of pain that didn't heal with time. 2 weeks passed. After the police closed the case. Too long. Quiet weeks in a house that suddenly felt too big, too empty, too hollow. Franklin's old armchair sat untouched in the corner. The hallway felt colder. The nights felt heavier. Darius didn't call, didn't text, didn't come home. His room stayed empty. The closet bare, the drawers open like he'd torn through them in a hurry. I didn't know where he went. Or if she was still with him. Or if he had finally seen her for what she was. The hurt took on a new shape. It was no longer just fear or anger. It was loss. A deep, sharp loss I couldn't pour down a drain or wash clean like a blender. I'd lost my son long before he walked out of this house. I just hadn't realized how completely she had gotten inside his mind until now. Every day, I moved through the house like a ghost, cleaning what didn't need cleaning, wiping down counters that were already spotless, watering plants that weren't thirsty. Anything to keep from thinking about the empty chair at the kitchen table where Darius used to sit and talk to me. Then one afternoon, my phone rang. I answered without checking the caller ID. Loretta. It was Yvonne. Her voice was quiet, worn, tired. I found her. I closed my eyes. Where? Las Vegas. My stomach tightened. Alia is in Vegas? Yes, Yvonne said. She's working at a casino. Cocktail waitress. Long hours. Bad pay. She sounds different, older, worn down. I let those words settle. Alia had traded the home she wanted to steal for cheap tips and cigarette smoke. It wasn't justice, but it was close enough to sting. What about Darius? I finally asked. I don't know, Yvonne said. She didn't mention him. I don't think he's with her. I breathed out slowly. So he had left her too. Not soon enough to save either of us. But he had walked away. Loretta. Yvonne asked softly, Are you going to do anything? I looked around my quiet living room, the photos on the walls, the worn rug, the sunlight spilling across the floor. This was my home. The place she tried to take from me. What can I do? I said, Police close the case. There's no evidence left. You could go talk to her. To what end? Yvonne had no answer. Just silence. After we hung up, I stood in my kitchen and stared at the blender. The same counter where Alia had smiled at me with poison in her hands. The same home I had almost died in, and something in me hardened, not anger, not fear. Something colder. Sharper. A choice. If the law couldn't hold her accountable, I would. Not with violence. Not with threats, but with truth. Face to face. So she could see the woman she tried to kill standing right in front of her. Alive, steady, unbroken. The next morning, I'd packed a small bag, got in my car, and drove 4 hours across the desert toward Las Vegas, the city where people run when they have nowhere left to hide. The sun was brutal overhead, miles of highway stretched out endlessly, lined with wild oleander bushes swaying in the heat, their pink and white flowers beautiful and deadly. Fitting. I thought. Beautiful and deadly. Just like the person I was going to face. By early afternoon, I pulled into the parking lot of a huge casino with bright neon lights flashing across the entrance. I stepped inside, the air conditioning hitting me like a cold wave. Laughter, slot machines, clinking glasses, voices shouting, all swirling together in a dizzying mess. I scanned the casino floor. People in fancy clothes, people in swimwear, people drunk, loud laughing, and then I saw her. Alia. In a tight black dress, balancing a tray of drinks, smiling at strangers like nothing had ever happened. Her makeup was heavy. Her shoulders slumped. She looked older. Like the world had finally given her back what she'd tried to give me. I sat at the bar. I watched her work for 10 minutes, moving from table to table, accepting tips with trembling fingers. She didn't see me at first, but when she finally turned and her eyes met mine, the tray slipped from her hands. Glasses shattered, drinks splashed across the casino floor. Everyone looked, but she only stared at me, frozen, terrified. I stood slowly, stepped around the broken glass and walked toward her. Hi. Alia, I said, my voice calm. We need to talk. She couldn't speak, couldn't move. Not here, I said. Outside. I turned and walked toward the exit, not even checking to see if she followed. But I heard her. Steps, fast, shaking, terrified, just like I wanted, just like she deserved. This wasn't revenge, this was truth. And she was about to face every piece of it. Outside the casino, the Las Vegas heat slammed into us with the force of a wall. The sun was brutal, over 110 degrees, dry enough to sting the lungs with every breath. People hurried in and out of the building, the bright neon lights flickering behind us. But none of it mattered. Alia stood 3 feet away from me on the sidewalk, her arms crossed tight over her chest like she was holding herself together. Her breath shook. Her eyes kept darting around like she wanted to run but couldn't make her legs listen. How did you find me? She finally managed to ask. Your mother, I answered. Her jaw tightened. Of course, she muttered, bitterness sliding through her voice like poison. What do you want? She asked, flicking her gaze toward the parking lot. If you came here to threaten me, go ahead. I guess I deserve it. I studied her closely, the same woman who once smiled at me across my kitchen table while stirring poison into a smoothie. Now she stood in front of me with blotchy makeup, trembling hands, and eyes full of fear. I want to know why, I said simply. She blinked. Why, what? Why you tried to kill me, I said. Was it really just the money? Was that all I was worth to you? Something flickered in her expression. Not regret, more like exhaustion. You wouldn't understand, she said quietly. Try me. She let out a breath, long and shaky. You had everything, she said. A home, money, security, respect. Things I never had for a single day growing up. And you just lived your life like it came naturally to you? She shook her head, blinking repeatedly as if trying to clear her vision. I wanted that. I wanted it so bad it ate at me. And you were just sitting on it. Doing nothing, breathing, existing. So you decided to take it? No, her voice cracked. I decided to stop waiting for it. I stepped closer, and the oleander. That was your idea of not waiting. She flinched at the word. You can't prove anything, she snapped quickly. I know, I said. I washed the evidence. A mistake on my part. The truth hit her hard. She swallowed, her throat bobbing. But I know what you did, I said. Your mother knows. Darius knows. And most importantly, you know. Her eyes glossed with tears. She tried to blink away. What do you want from me? She whispered. An apology? Fine. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I tried to kill you. I'm sorry I got caught. I'm sorry my life fell apart. I don't want an apology, I replied. Then what? I want you to live with it, I said. Every single day. She stared at me, breathing, waiting. I want you to remember what you did every time you wake up. Every time you close your eyes. Every time your heart beats too fast. I want you to feel the weight of what you tried to take from me. Peace, life, family. Tears finally spilled down her cheeks. I already do, she whispered. Good. I turned and walked a few steps toward the parking lot. The sun hammered the pavement. The air rippled with heat. Ms. Loretta. I stopped but didn't turn around. Where's Darius? She asked, her voice trembling. Did he choose you? I finally looked back at her. Double quotes. No, he didn't choose anyone. He ran. That's what both of you do, run. She shook her head slowly, her tears falling freely now. Does he hate me? I don't know, I said honestly. But he finally saw you. And sometimes when the truth hits a person in the face, they run from themselves before they run from anyone else. Her face crumpled. She looked smaller than she ever had. I walked the rest of the way to my car, opened the door, and sat inside. As I pulled out of the parking lot, I didn't look back. I didn't need to. The confrontation was done. My truth was spoken. My survival was loud enough. As I drove across the desert, the sky behind me burst with color, oranges, pinks, purples. The kind of sunset that looks peaceful, even though the world beneath it is full of people hiding their own darkness. The miles stretched. Ahead. My home waited for me. The same home Aaliyah tried to steal by ending my life early. I had almost died there. But I hadn't, and survival is its own revenge. Knowing she had to wake up every day with her guilt. That was enough for me. Knowing Darius had to face who he'd become. That was his own cross to bear, and knowing I walked back into my house alive, safe, standing in the place she thought she could take from me. That was my victory. Some betrayals break you. Some betrayals build you. Mine did both. If you've ever been underestimated, counted out, pushed aside, or almost erased by someone who thought you were weak, remember this. You don't have to ruin their world. Just refuse to let them ruin yours. Your survival becomes their punishment. Your strength becomes their lesson. They don't get to win unless you stop living. And I didn't stop. I never will.